Ken, it's been more than 2 months since American Airlines furloughed 19,000 employees and suspended flights to this airport. There's a lot of information on the different COVID-19 vaccines, and it can be overwhelming for people. Today would have been the second presidential debate, but instead, President Trump is continuing his string of campaign rallies. Water from the Neuse River is just splashing up against the shore. There is flooding. We are at Union Point Park right now. Boating is a popular activity, but if operators and swimmers aren't cautious at all times, it can be fatal. And the whole Town Creek Culvert project was designed for days like today, where we're seeing a lot of consistent rain. I'm down here by the town common, and I see the Tar River's current moving pretty quick. Every election comes with some form of anger, anxiety, and uncertainty, but more people than ever are feeling the stress over the 2020 election. I'm actually standing in a pretty wide stance, and I can feel the wind kind of pushing and pulling me. Today is the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. This high holiday comes days after someone carved a swastika in this lawn. But an Onslow County group says these kinds of injustices are nothing new.
Like typically you hear it on the news and stuff, but it hits totally different when it's your front yard.
A family gathered in solidarity.
We know racism exists, but to have it come and hit you right there in your face.
They're together after the discovery of a swastika mowed into the lawn of their property near Richlands.
I drive by here every day, and then to drive by and to be able to see this hate symbol from the road is very disheartening.
Members of the Onslow County NAACP say they're concerned about this and other reported acts of hate.
It either needs to be tempered now by those in leadership positions, or we're going to have a similar problem that other cities are having.
The local NAACP president says people must stand up to acts like these.
But if folks stand by and just watch and don't take action, it'll continue.
People from across the county are joining the family and calling for justice.
We hopefully find who did this and that they're held accountable and the family has justice.
And despite this insult, the family is standing strong together. The swastika incident is still under investigation. Onslow County Sheriff Hans Miller is encouraging anyone with additional information to contact his deputies. In Richlands, Ariana Kraft, 9 on your side. On Wednesday, Governor Cooper toured the mobile home park just south of Windsor, seeing what a tornado had done here.
This is devastating to see. I know that a lot of people are happy to be alive after this happened, but now they've got to pick up the pieces.
James Gordon is one of them.
Well, really, it's still shocking, but the worst part wasn't actually the storm itself, but it was the aftereffects.
With less damage to his home, he started helping neighbors.
Our home was a place for shelter for those because we had to bring the sick in, we had to bring the hurt in and everything, and you know, we're just grateful for that.
Michael Sprayberry is North Carolina's emergency management director. He says recovery won't just be a short-term measure.
Some of these people have lost their entire homes entirely. So not only do we need to be thinking about temporary housing, we have to think about permanent, sustainable housing.
Sprayberry says local officials are assessing the damage. Then it's up to FEMA to issue a federal disaster declaration.
It is my hope and prayer that FEMA will approve this request and get the resources down to the local level as quickly as they can.
But this tornado took more than houses. It killed 62-year-old Randolph Harold and 52-year-old Lethea Ann Edwards, who's being remembered and mourned.
I'm gonna miss a sinner passing by, blowing a horn at her when she come in from work and stuff like that.
Ken, I'm outside the ECU Student Center, one of Pitt County's 7 early voting sites. Data shows voters 40 and younger make up about a quarter of Pitt County's total votes cast so far. I spoke with some of those voters to find out what's making them interested in this election.
I wasn't really anticipating voting this year.
But this ECU student says he had a change of heart and cast his ballot.
I got help from some of my buddies, and I really feel like a lot better. I feel accomplished.
The 2020 election is getting a lot of attention from all ages. Young voters want a say in what's happening.
I feel like it's going to be a close race, so one vote can probably tip the scale.
2020 is not like any other election year, and everyone has felt its effects.
We've been through a lot this year.
Many of us are graduating into
an economic crisis and a coronavirus pandemic.
That's why young voters say having a choice now will have an impact on what's to come.
We need to start speaking up.
Young people also want leaders to take notice of their views on issues like the economy, healthcare, the environment, and COVID.
Every voice counts, so we're out here to make sure that ours count.
In Pitt County right now, more young voters have already voted, about 1.5 times the number of young voters who had voted at this point in 2016.
Those voters are also seeing groups reaching out, encouraging them to cast their ballots.
The initiatives that you see on TV and on social media are very like rallying everybody together. So I feel like a lot of people are voting.
Early voting wraps up October 31st. During this period, you can still register to vote if you cast your ballot at the same time. We have more information on early voting locations at WNCT.com. Live in Greenville, Ariana Kraft, 9 on your side. Madison, North Carolina is adapting its COVID vaccine distribution plan to meet new CDC guidelines. Things that aren't changing are the mixed views people have about getting the vaccine. I wanted to find out who wants the shot, who doesn't, and why. Everyone is faced with the same question. Will you get the COVID-19 vaccine?
It's been hard for everyone, but I'm looking forward to it.
Widespread vaccinations are months away, but not everyone is on the same page.
Most of the people I work with and all my family and friends, I think, are planning on getting it. I know a lot of people have concerns about it.
Gabriel Boutillier is right. There are people uncertain about the vaccines.
I'm not 100% for it. People anywhere have the mix of ideas of I'm going to get it, but most of my family we care, but I mean nobody's gotten it.
And others just want to wait it out.
I'd probably wait a while, like next summer if it's available by then, just because people are taking it now, so then I would see what the effects are.
But there are people welcoming the vaccine with open arms.
I'm fine getting it. I wouldn't mind. I've gotten vaccine my whole life. I'm fine with it. It's just something I've done.
Those who want the shot say it's an important tool to fight the pandemic.
My family, they really want to get it because they want to end up going back to their jobs. They're kind of sick of being at home all the time.
I want to get it mostly so we can stop the spread and so businesses can start opening up and to keep my older family members safe.
Now, Health Secretary Mandy Cohen says there are limited supplies of the COVID shots. State officials expect to get 60,000 weekly doses of both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines through the end of January. Live in the newsroom, I'm Ariana Kraft, 9 on your side.
It's all music. It doesn't matter whether you're white, black, green, purple, blue, or whatever, it's all music.
Carol DeShield traveled the world playing jazz, but found himself settling down in Greenville, North Carolina.
The typical thing happened, we were going to be here 3 years. Like 3 years and we're out. 31 years later, we're still here. I was the first African-American professor in the School of Music.
But for some, DeShield in that job struck a wrong chord.
I found that not necessarily just in the School of Music, but in the area, there was this really big divide. It was white or black. There was really no intermingling, no discussions.
DeShield wanted to do something. This music man wanted to create more harmony.
I tried to think of things that we could do musically that would bring the many different peoples together. And so I came up with several shows.
Then he realized someone started writing this score long before he moved here.
Dr. Billy Taylor, he was one of my mentors. And Dr. Taylor was probably one of the more significant jazz figures of the modern centuries. And he was born and raised in Greenville.
DeShield hit on an inspiring note, a mural to honor Dr. Billy Taylor.
I think it shows the lineage from Dr. Billy Taylor when he was born here. Now, he was here, so that's part of our history, and showing that lineage from Dr. Taylor to our students, and then showing that lineage, and then where do we go from here? Who and how can we pass on this information? The music of jazz was a music that was, in my opinion, it was a music that was developed and started by African Americans. But now it's a music of all peoples.
DeShiel wants to see more people joining in, getting an appreciation of Greenville's African American roots.
My hope is that the opportunities to be inclusive of the African American heritage in our uptown area, in our arts district, I'm hoping that those opportunities will flourish.
And that the music of his people is in everyone's life. And it's venues like this that DeShiel hopes will continue to help grow and celebrate the African American music and culture here in Greenville. For Hidden History, I'm Ariana Kraft.